So the first pot kit tutorial we're going to do is the Bacopas. So we have 3 Bacopa kits for July. We have the white Bacopa trio, the purple Bacopa trio, and then the lilac Bacopa, which is a double Bacopa, so it sort of has double petals in each bloom. So Bacopas are a plant that just keeps on giving. You deadhead the brown flowers once they go over, and more buds bloom and more flowers come. They're a really gorgeous trailing plant. So when they arrive, they'll be quite fresh. So, you know, you're looking at this size, and then as they get bigger, they will just trail over your pot. You can cut them back and they'll come back again. So they're a winner. I'm chuffed with them. They've been really popular. We did them in, I think, May, with the white Bacopa planter, which we've also brought back this month. So that is on one of the other tutorials that you'll find on the YouTube. But we've brought it back because we had so many people asking for it again this month. So we've brought that one back and then added in some different ones as well. And also some colour, some soft pastel, purple and lilac, which for me personally in my garden and in my home during the warmer months, I would go white, purple, green, and then maybe a bit of apricot or blush. But that's as far as I go in terms of colour for me personally. But I just think they all work together so cohesively. So I really hope you like them for this month. So I'm going to pot up one trio. I think I'll do the white trio because it's exactly the same. So I don't bore you with tips for both different types. And then I'll pot up the lilac Bacopa, which goes in a single pot. Okay, so for your white Bacopa kit, you will have your pots, which are these Castle 10cm pots. Now, as you can see, mine are very much loved and used. As I say in all these videos, they just age so beautifully. They get better every time you use them. These have been used multiple times for different things, so they are definitely looking very rustic. But in my opinion, they just get better. So that's the pot that you'll have with your white trio. If you order the lilac trio, not the lilac trio, the purple Bacopa trio, you will receive these subtly scalloped Helena plant pots, same size, just slightly narrower. So that will come in the purple trio. And then in the lilac Bacopa kit, you will receive this gorgeous 12cm ribbed Berg's Potter pot and matching saucers. So they all come with the saucers. And then as always, excuse me, as always in your kits, you'll receive the gravel, compost and the moss, the pots and the plants. So everything you need to pot up something that's gorgeous for your home or garden. So let's begin with the white Bacopa. So this is exactly the same for the for the purple, sorry. But yeah, so it just gives you an idea of how to do both. So we start with the gravel. So using the gravel that's in the brown paper bags in your kits, just adding that to the bottom of the pot. So the purpose for the gravel is just drainage. It's just so that the roots don't sit in water. You know, I'd say the majority of plants don't like to sit in just still water. It doesn't do their roots any good. So that's what the gravel is for. You can then take after giving your plants a really good water, so I have practiced what I preached today, and they have been sat in some water overnight. So they're really well hydrated. It just gives it a good start to make sure that the plants are nice and damp. Okay, so taking out your Bacopa from your plant pot, just give the base a bit of a squeeze, it should come out easily, and then simply place in your pot. Now gently push down and then add in a little bit of the compost that's in your kit. You don't have lots of compost in the trios, you don't need it. You can, if you want to, put some compost on top of the gravel, just a little sprinkling, that's absolutely fine if you'd rather do that too. they'll get the nutrients that way as well. We have fed all of our plants that are going out to you, so they've had a really nice feed. I get asked quite a lot about feeding. For this, they just use, or I just use either a liquid seaweed or a Miracle Grow, just something you can get on Amazon or online anywhere, so or in a garden centre. And then just read the instructions on how much to put in, as to how much water you're using, and then we feed here sort of once a week. Maybe if it's really dry, would make the feed sort of a bit more diluted, but feed twice a week. You don't have to feed them. It just means that you're more likely to get an abundance of flowers. But yeah, it's up to you. You don't have to. So this one I will put in a little sprinkling on the bottom. Again, completely up to you if you do that. Push it down slightly. Now this one's got a few brown flowers on. So just to give you an idea of how to deadhead, it's so simple and satisfying. You literally just pull off the brown flower. It's not a case of like with the lavender where you need to snip at the base. It's just picking off the brown flowers. That then encourages more blooms to follow. Okay, so then you just take this out first. Place in your pot and then gently push down around the base of the plant. And then adding in a little sprinkling of compost around the base of the plant. That just means that when you water, it will get those nutrients from that extra new compost. So with Bacopa, just a few sort of tips on how to look after it. It is an outdoor plant, but if you know our kits by now, you know that I like to test plants indoors as well as outdoors. And I find that quite often they do so well. It's all to do, it's all to do with the sunlight really. If the plant is getting enough light, it's not sat in, stagnant water, so therefore its roots are happy, and you're watering it as you should, not overwatering it, but not sort of leaving it to go really dry. There's no reason why certain plants can't do well indoors, and Bacopa is one of them. So I have had a white Bacopa on my windowsill in my kitchen for over 2 months, and it has gone wild. It is really happy there. It's not the sunniest kitchen, it's a northwest facing, we get evening sun in there, but it's happy. It's indirect sunlight from a windowsill, and it has done even better, I would say, than the ones I have outside, because it hasn't been battered by the storms that we had those a month or so ago. It's happy. So if you want to try having them indoors, you can. Just make sure there's nice sunlight and that you're not overwatering. So that's the white Bacopa trio. So that is exactly the same as the purple Bacopa trio. And then I'll just, moss. So in your kit, you will receive 3 types of moss. So the bun moss, which is this sort of quite chunky green, the sphagnum, which is the more kind of loose two-tone kind of moss, and then the flat moss, which is this one here. Now, completely up to you how you moss your plants, but you simply place the moss on top of the compost around the base of your plants. If you want to take, with the bun moss, it's quite chunky, you can take the root system off the back. So you simply just kind of squeeze it out, just to make it sort of a little bit flatter. In terms of watering, and this applies to all 3 of the kits for the Bacopa kits, you're looking to water, I would say maybe twice a week. when the soil at the top feels dry. So pop your fingers into the soil, and if it feels dry, give it a nice drink. But I would suggest giving it a kind of a drenching, as I would say. So you're not sort of giving it just a trickle of water, you're giving it a really thorough water whereby you know that that water has gone all the way down, right to the bottom, so it's sort of going to the roots, and then any excess you tip out of the saucer. I have also found it helpful with watering to take my pot and fill, you know, like an old bowl with water, and then I just sit it in there for a couple of hours, then I take it out, and then I know it's had a really good drink. Because sometimes it's hard to know that the roots have had the drink when you're watering from the top. So in an ideal world, do both. Water from the top, making sure you're watering the compost, not just the moss. And then sit your pots in a bowl of water for an hour or two, and then you know that you've gone from both angles and it's well watered, and then you should be able to leave it probably sort of 3 days or so. But just keep an eye on it. And if it's looking tired, if it's looking kind of a bit floppy, then you know that it needs a drink. So just go off the plant. Okay, so that's the white trio, again, same as the purple. And then I'm going to pot up the lilac Bacopa kit. Now this is a different sort of variety of Bacopa in that it's a double Bacopa. So it has these gorgeous sort of ruffled petals, and yeah, equally stunning. So that's your lilac Bacopa. So again, as with the trios, you add in your gravel to the bottom, and then I would add in a decent amount of compost to the base, and then you can try and see where that, so that's about right, because I might add in a tiny bit more. Okay, now after watering, you can just take your plant out, squeezing the bottom, and then pop that in your plant pot. So we now need to add the compost around the edges. Just filling in the gaps, and then compress it down so that there's no air pockets. Okay, beautiful. And then as with the other kits, you add in your moss. Now the purpose of the moss is sort of twofold really. It in my opinion finishes the potting off really nicely, so it's got an aesthetic kind of function, but then also I find that it keeps the plants sort of moisture in for longer, especially if you've got this outside. It won't, the soil sort of, the moisture in the soil won't evaporate quite so quickly. But it is crucial to make sure that you water the compost and not the moss. So what I do when I water is I would probably take some of the moss off and water and then pop it back on again. So there we have it. That is the lilac Bacopa kit there. So yeah, just to rerun over the tips, when the flowers go brown, simply pinch them off. You don't need to cut the stem or the base. They love sunlight, so keep them somewhere really nice and sunny. Keep them damp but not waterlogged, and water them when the top sort of, you know, I'd say a centimetre feels dry when you pop your fingers in there. And that's about it. So that is the Bacopa trios and the lilac Bacopa kit.